Hi, I'm Claire, a design researcher and grad student at the University of Washington located in Seattle. Today I'm excited to present our pictorial addressing adjacent active privacy, designing for bystanders, co-users, and surveilled subject of smart home cameras. Our team that worked on the project consisted out of undergrad and grad students with diverse backgrounds from interaction and industrial design. In the modern world, encountering smart devices in everyday life increasingly becomes the norm. This can lead to benefits and simultaneously raise major privacy and surveillance concern for the owners and the people nearby. A prime example are smart home cameras. Smart home cameras are used both deliberately and incidentally to monitor guests, neighbors, domestic workers, and so on. In particular, these nearby users like high degrees of control, feedback, awareness, consent, and benefits in contrast to the owners. This is the reason why we have decided to focus on design interventions to increase privacy for adjacent actors. As it turns out, designing interactive systems that directly improve adjacent active privacy is very difficult, not at least because it requires navigating competing interests among primary users and other stakeholders, which as we identified as a major gap both in product development as well as academic research. As a bystander, we understand the person that accidentally is being recorded while, for example, walking down the streets. However, a nanny, child, or Airbnb guest who is deliberately surveilled by the camera owner is no longer merely a bystander, but rather a surveilled subject. An example for a non-primary user might be a delivery driver. We might consider them as an incidental user in the sense that while they're delivering the package, they are aware that there is a camera that senses and records, and they behave differently in response, for example, leaving a package in view, or they might handle a package with more care. Complicating matters further, these roles are fluid. For example, the primary owner of a camera can later become a surveilled subject if their spouse with co-user access uses the system to spy on them. Before we start to work on possible design proposals to enhance privacy for adjacent actors, we first had to understand the bigger landscape of smart cameras. One framework we developed in that sense we called Smart Cam Evolution Map. We loosely plot a camera device along two axes, current versus emerging and common versus uncommon. This map was useful in numerous ways, including enabling us to tease apart two other frameworks, like the Cam Dimension Map. Here we identified 3 dimensions with significant implication for adjacent active privacy. The space, where does the device sense? The duration, how often is the device sensing, and location. Is the camera fixed, mobile, or autonomous? Throughout the process, we distinguished 4 key groups of smart cameras. We ultimately focused on designing for standalone cameras, group 1, because these devices are both very common, accessible, and significantly impact adjacent actors' privacy. However, we still kept an eye out for overlapping opportunities to improve privacy for other camera groups as well. As a next step, we iteratively developed over 100 use cases and scenarios. These range from highly abstract and general to very concrete and particular. Based on these scenarios and frameworks described before, our understanding for design space grew tremendously. The next step was to actually design the detailed and potentially feasible design responses, which again turned out to be a gap across, we identified across both consumer product and academic research. Throughout the process, we have developed 50 design ideas. However, we then narrowed them down to group 1, stationary standalone cameras. I'm now happy to walk you through our final design proposals for this study. The first concept I introduced we called neighborly setting. It is a feature that enables camera owners to be better neighbors by voluntarily blocking views of their neighbor's property. Close mode is a set of privacy features that clearly communicates the sensing status of a smart camera to nearby actors, including owners, household members, visitors, or bystanders. The central component of this concept is the pronounced lenslet that functions like a remote control webcam cover. Guest account is a feature that enables owners to give limited access of their smart security cameras to others. This can improve guest privacy, trust, and relationship with the owner. We figured that might be particularly suitable for nanny, Airbnb guests, house sitters, and so on. We also worked on more speculative ideas, for example, do not face track. This concept is a feature that allows people to require that their faces are automatically blurred on other people's security cameras. Camera Shields is a standalone device that a user places near the window to block cameras from peering inside. The device uses special lights that are invisible to the naked eye, but confuses digital camera sensors to create a blurry, distorted image. Nearby camera is an application that sends notification when a nearby camera or microphone is detected. It can be imagined as a real-time map of smart home cameras. The types of camera detected may include residential cameras, retail, or hidden cameras. Webcam failsafe filter allow a user to automatically block distracting, embarrassing, or sensitive activity from entering into the frame of their video call. After developing these 7 concepts in more detail, we then tested the concepts in the frame of a user study. I was leading this study where we evaluated the concept with 11 participants. We recruited participants with a variety of experience, such as camera owners, guests, bystanders, pet sitters, subject of surveillance. We introduced the concept in the same manner I just did with you and asked the people about their honest opinion in form of a semi-structured interview. The methodology was a phenomenological approach blended with grounded theory. Based on our diverse set of participants, we have come across different opinions and level of awareness towards privacy concerning smart home cameras. Within the scope of this pictorial, we explained the findings from closed mode and guest account in more detail, as we identified those as the most actionable concepts to translate into tangible prototypes later on. However, we further found our remaining proposals were effective prompts for understanding people's privacy perception and preferences. So all participants identified situations where closed mode would be useful for them personally. One participant went even further by discussing how closed mode could help camera owner do the right thing and disclose the status to people nearby. Because as an owner, you should give the other people a peace of mind by normalizing conversations about it and let people know if they are being recorded or not. Providing a peace of mind for household member was a commonly cited motivation for adopting closed mode. For example, one participant described a workaround where they turned their living room smart camera towards the wall after they had switched it off to provide an extra layer of protection. Because the participant wished, there would be something to completely turn it off. An interesting insight in this regard was that participants mistrusted the light indicators only. A participant even explained further, I don't trust the light as the only indicator to communicate if the camera is recording or not. A friend of my stepdad installed cameras at people's homes and told how he can manipulate the light indicator whether the camera is working or not. Another pattern that came up throughout our study was that participants worried about the audio recording. Apparently, most private stuff happens in conversations rather than image. Guest account also offered promises for our endeavors in this design space. Then surprisingly, all of our participants liked the idea of sharing access to their smart home camera with their guests. Participants envisioned themselves sharing access across many of our anticipated scenarios. And they stated, you already trust the person enough to be in your place, so why don't give them access to your smart cameras? One potential concern in this regard was to ensure that the access expired after the guest stay, especially if more substantial privileges were granted, such as the ability to disable a cam. To conclude, emerging artificial technologies continue to shape everyday social practices, relationships, and interactions. Sensing technologies, particularly cameras and microphones, affect the privacy of the owners and people nearby. Or as one of our participants mentioned, the person that feels the privacy is being violated should be able to actively do something against it. In that sense, we have developed analytical frameworks and describing design considerations to enhance privacy for smart home camera owners and people affected by it. We see value and importance to continuously work in the bigger picture of how to design interactive systems not only for primary users, but also people nearby. Currently, we are physical prototype our concepts closed mode and guest account. Thank you for listening along and read our paper and reach out if you have any further thoughts or questions.